Hari Om Tat Sat. Welcome to Swami Jyotiirmayananda Society, a journey to self realization. Please subscribe for the mystical meanings and to enjoy daily satsang. We are currently exploring the book Yoga Essays for Self Improvement by Swami Jyotiirmayananda Maharaj, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. And today we are picking up a new chapter, How to Cultivate Divine Impressions in the Unconscious. Subtle impressions, known as samskaras, are formed in the unconscious on the basis of one's thoughts and actions. They constitute the secret of the personality, for a person is what he is on the basis of the sanskaras that lie deep within his unconscious. Samskaras are being formed day and night in every moment of one's life. And by altering the nature of the forming samskaras, an individual has endless possibilities of allowing himself to change. Some impressions are feeble and effaced in a very short time, others, being stronger, continue to remain for a long time. Impressions that are formed in the mind of a child continue to remain firm and intact even when he grows into a young man, even when he becomes very old. That is why people remember certain experiences of their childhood with clarity, while many times they are unable to remember the events of just a few days past. The sensitivity of the mind, along with the keen interest on the part of the individual, allow him to form impressions that are durable and deep rooted. This then is the secret of memory culture. So let's discuss about samskaras and memory. Many think that memory culture implies the ability to remember anything and everything in day to day life. However, from a yogic viewpoint, abrupt storage of information in the mind with the ability to recall it at will is of very little importance. If you are able to remember every road you travel, every building you pass, every little object that you find in a room, it is wonderful indeed, but all this is of very little use in your spiritual advancement. What is needed is the ability to recall the impressions of peace and serenity at all times. You should be able to remember the miraculous touch of the divine hand experienced many times during moments of deep yearning and prayer. Memory culture for a yogi refers to the art of forming selective impressions in the unconscious and being able to recall them in order to intensify his movements towards the spiritual goal. There is a Sanskrit saying, Ahara Shuddhau Sattva Shuddhi, Sattva Shuddhau Dhruva Smriti, Dhruva Smritau Sarva Granthinam Vipramokshaha. Meaning, when food, the intake of the senses, is pure, there arises purity in the mind. Mental purity leads to firm memory, the mystic capacity to recollect the positive impressions of meditation and samadhi. And as a result of firm memory, the knots of the heart, ignorance, desire, and karmic entanglements are broken, leading to the attainment of liberation, the realization of I am Brahman. Let's study the samskaras and karma. Samskaras are seeds of karmas. When karmas fructify, one experiences conditions of pleasure and pain and the formation of relationships with each other, human beings, and objects, etc. When samskaras change, the human personality changes, and when samskaras are overhauled by the practice of meditation and samadhi, one's personality becomes transformed into that of a sage. The vast majority of people do not know the art of overhauling the samskaras of their unconscious. They continue to form impressions arising out of egoism, selfishness, hatred, anger, and infatuation. These impressions continue to create karmas that are either virtuous from a relative point of view or vicious, and while fructifying, give rise to pleasure or pain. They continue to keep the soul entangled in karmas and are called Ashubha sanskaras or malina samskaras, meaning impure impressions. On the other hand, impressions arising out of meditation and reflection on the self are called Shubh samskaras or pure impressions. They arise as expressions of inner spiritual upliftment and lead to the glorious height of consciousness far above and beyond the range of egoistic vision of life. Pure impressions are generated by an aspirant on the basis of satsanga, good association, study of the scriptures, practice of reflection and meditation, and the performance of one's duties with the divine attitude that every activity is a form of worship of the divine self. Pure impressions overcome impure impressions and fill the mind with sattva or purity. When the mind is highly purified, the intellect is no longer under the domination of the ego. It soars beyond the confines of the limited personality and becomes intuitive. It is the intuitive intellect that enables the spirit to become free from the cycles of birth and death and from the long process of karmic entanglements. Samskaras and the last thought. The Gita says that the last thought of a person at the time of his death determines his future, next birth, whether he is to incarnate and continue to evolve through embodiments or attain liberation and become one with the Absolute. If his last thought is centered on the divine self, he attains liberation from birth and death. But if his last thought lingers on the pleasures of the senses of the objects of the world, he is reborn in conditions and circumstances where his last thought can find its utmost fulfillment. It must be well understood by an aspirant that the last thought arising in the mind of a dying person is not accidental, but it is the result of the impressions that have been gathered day by day. That impression which has gained the greatest prominence comes to the mind at the time of death. It is therefore important for a person to be selective in allowing the impressions to be formed in the unconscious. This can be done by screening one's associations with the world and its objects through recourse to satsanga and a balanced plan of sadhana, spiritual discipline, a blend of meditation, repetition of mantras, study of scriptures, and artistic performance of duties. When daily life is permeated with the spirit of sadhana, the objects, the fleeting conditions in daily life, and the superficial changes around the person do not form deep impressions. Their impressions pass through the firmament of the mind like soft clouds dissolving in the blue sky. But divine impressions continue to shine through the luminous stars. Repeated effort in forming shubh sanskaras or positive sanskaras. It is impossible to bring about a sudden change in the unconscious. An aspirant must take recourse to repeated effort along with increasing insight and patience in order to work out a transformation in the unconscious. Efforts must be sustained and be directed towards the same goal day by day. The mind must be not be allowed to be distracted by so many unessentials that seem to clamor for recognition. Just as a traveler continues to see various scenes and sights from a window of a train, and his mind is not distracted by them but is intent upon reaching his destination, an aspirant who is seated in the vehicle of embodiment should keep his mind undistracted by the transient experiences of gain and loss, pleasure and pain, praise and censure, and thus move directly to the supreme goal of liberation. So, this is how we overhaul our unconscious. We cultivate divine impressions, and that's why we are encouraged to do acts that are pure and sustainable, that will go and take strong roots inside our unconscious. Tomorrow, we will be picking up the chapter of the secrets of divine worship. So, I hope you're enjoying these beautiful chapters done by our beloved Master Swami Jyotirmayananda ji so far, and each one of them is a lifelong practice. It doesn't happen overnight, but slowly we get transformed from buds into beautiful, fragrant flowers, from being a caterpillar into a butterfly. And that should be the goal on this holy journey that we are walking together. This is Swami Nikhilananda. Hari Om Tat Sat.